Donald Trump is at war with the judges of America. Judges striking down his unlawful mass deportation plan. Judges like Justice Roberts on the Supreme Court telling him, no, Donald, you can't just override the separation of powers. And judges who are not yet on the bench, but running for that office, like Susan Crawford in Wisconsin, who Donald Trump and, of course, his co-president Elon Musk are doing everything they can to stop from getting elected, including some election interference, which they were caught in. And it led to a complete Donald Trump meltdown that we are going to get into. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we can get into the election interference from Trump and Musk, first, I want a little bit of context on this race from Jen Psaki right here.
And now, as we were detailing and discussing last night, he's at it again. Spending what I would consider an eye-popping amount of money in Wisconsin on a local race for the state Supreme Court. Now, in just 39 days, voters are going to go to the polls to choose between Judge Susan Crawford, who also, I would note, was endorsed by the state Democratic Party, and Judge Brad Schimel, a hard-right MAGA conservative and an ally of Donald Trump. The winner of that will serve a 10-year term and decide on a range of important issues that impact people across the state of Wisconsin, and also define the ideological makeup of Wisconsin's Supreme Court. And Elon Musk is trying to make sure that his candidate prevails. His America PAC just launched a $1 million canvassing effort, and another Musk-backed group has put down $1.6 million to run scorched earth ads, is the only way I can describe them, like this one.
The monster faces 100 years in prison, but Judge Susan Crawford let him off with just 4. That was Crawford's choice. Now he's back on the street, walking distance from a school. And Judge Crawford, she wants a promotion. Susan Crawford, dangerous decisions, wrong for Wisconsin.
Now, the target of that multi-million-dollar effort by Musk and his partners, Judge Susan Crawford, she joins me now. It's great to see you, Judge Crawford. Thank you so much for taking the time. And I played that. I thought about not playing it, but I played it because I wanted people to see what kind of scorched earth ads and how much money is being put behind them. What impact are you seeing of this?
Well, Jen, you know, this is unprecedented, I think, in Wisconsin politics, particularly in judicial elections, to see somebody like Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, wading in to try to buy a justice on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. I have a lot of confidence in Wisconsin voters. I think they're going to see through this effort and do the right thing and make sure that we have a fair and impartial Supreme Court after all of this. But, you know, it's really unprecedented.
Of all of the issues, I mean, there are a lot of issues that are going to be before the state Supreme Court in Wisconsin. That's why it's such an important race. Why does Elon Musk care about this race?
Well, you know, I think that this is the first shot across the bow. Wisconsin is a really purple state. It's always a swing state. And I think Elon Musk saw an opportunity here to buy a Supreme Court in a state. And I don't think he's going to stop at this one if he's successful. I think that people should be paying attention to this race. It's really a critical race for the people of Wisconsin, but I think people across the country should be paying attention to this.
So we are going to check out a little bit more of that interview in just a second, because I think it is so important to learn more about the bio of Susan Crawford and what she is fighting for in this race, what will be one of the most important races of this year, not only showing Republicans and Elon Musk that they can't buy an election, but showing voters that, yeah, Democrats are energized and we're actually moving stuff forward. But Elon Musk is doing everything he can to stop that because, of course, as always, he's got a lot of conflicts of interest in Wisconsin. And so Elon Musk is interfering with this election as much as he can, and he just got caught doing it. Elon Musk PAC's $100 giveaways put Wisconsin voters to the test. Musk Super PAC is offering Wisconsin voters $100 to sign a petition denouncing judges as his Doge efforts face pushback from courts. And what feels like the basic plot of several dystopian films, the world's richest man is doling out heaps of cash to try to impose his will over the U.S. court system as several of his efforts to hack away at crucial government programs face pushback from dismayed judges. The New York Times was first to report on Trump megadonor Elon Musk's donations of several $100,000 to numerous congressional Republicans who support the illiberal idea of impeaching judges who rule against components of President Donald Trump's agenda. And Musk has taken a particular interest in the upcoming Wisconsin Supreme Court election, and he's shoveling out money in ways that only an oligarch can. NBC News reports that Musk's super PAC, America PAC, is the top outside spender in the Wisconsin race, with about $6.6 million spent. Various outlets have reported that Musk previously donated millions of dollars to the third biggest outside spender in the race. And on Thursday, Axios reported that Musk PAC has begun offering Wisconsin voters $100 to sign a petition expressing their opposition to activist judges, a cause that President Trump is pressing as judges block or delay several parts of his agenda. This resembles the $1 million daily giveaway that American PAC conducted in swing states during last year's presidential race. Here's the text of the petition. Judges should interpret laws as written, not rewrite them to fit their personal or political agendas. By signing below, I reject the actions of activist judges who impose their own views and demanding a judiciary that respects its role, interpreting, not legislating. Axios reported that Musk's team won't know whether or how signees vote, but the $100 offer does open the door for some fairly easy cost-benefit analysis. So Elon has learned his lesson, clearly his legal lesson from the last time he tried to pull this shtick in Pennsylvania, because there were several lawsuits filed against him for election interference. But that's exactly what this is. Just because Elon doesn't change, just because he changes the language, doesn't mean that anything is any different than it was in the 2024 election, where Elon was quite literally buying votes. And it's not just Elon's money. Donald Trump is also using his threats and crazy attacks against Susan Crawford in this post right here. Wisconsin, Donald Trump writes, there is a very important election for state Supreme Court on April 1st, and early voting is now underway. Brad Schimmel is running against radical left liberal Susan Crawford. She is the handpicked voice of the leftists who are out to destroy your state and our country. And if she wins, the movement to restore our nation will bypass Wisconsin. All voters who believe in common sense should get out to vote early for Brad Schimmel. By turning out and voting early, you will be helping to uphold the rule of law, protect our incredible police, January 6th, secure our beloved Constitution, safeguard our inalienable rights, and preserve liberty and justice for all. Now, obviously, that's just a bunch of lies from Donald Trump. Brad Schimmel wants to allow Elon Musk to walk all over him. It was recently reported that Brad Schimmel dressed up as Donald Trump for Halloween. That's our impartial judge. That's the non-activist judge. I don't think Susan Crawford dressed up as Kamala Harris or Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton at any point. She is just an impartial judge, supported by the Democratic Party, of course, who's going to make sure that rights are protected and that Elon Musk, who is currently suing the state of Wisconsin, can't continue to get away with more corruption. But you don't need me to tell you that. You can listen to Susan Crawford.
It was in January that Musk's electric car company Tesla sued Wisconsin to challenge a state law forbidding manufacturers from owning dealerships. Now, 8 days later, Musk wrote on his social media site, "Very important to vote Republican for the Wisconsin Supreme Court to prevent voting fraud," which feels very in your face. But it's, I think, for anyone watching who's just not as attuned to this, they're wondering, is this personal? Is this related to his business? Could it be both? What do you make of that?
Yeah. Well, I think it's probably both. And you're right, that timing is certainly suspicious at the least. And it's also just he tweeted that tweet just 3 days after my opponent, Brad Schimmel, was in Washington, D.C., attending big dollar galas in Washington. He came back and bragged about how he has been wearing out his knee pads, begging on his knees for conservative billionaires like Elon Musk to fund his campaign. And, I think Elon Musk saw an opportunity there and saw a willing customer in Brad Schimmel. Brad Schimmel, this isn't the first time that Brad Schimmel has been willing to sell justice to the highest bidder. He did that when he was a Republican attorney general in Wisconsin by being one of the only states to refuse to get involved in a lawsuit to hold pharmaceutical companies accountable. Brad Schimmel was on the take from the pharmaceutical companies to fund his reelection campaign. So he's just doing it again. And Elon Musk, he's a guy who can spot an opportunity. And I think he spotted one in Brad Schimmel.
That is someone who I want on the bench, not someone who dresses up like Donald Trump for Halloween. That is just absurd and ridiculous. And if you needed to be sold anymore, I, of course, spoke to the chair of the Wisconsin Democratic Party, Ben Wickler, and he made a great case for why you need to get involved right here. And of course, we need Democrats to turn out in huge numbers, and I'm really hoping and thinking they will. But let's pretend that I'm a disaffected voter, right? And I'm thinking to myself, well, Democrats and Republicans, these people are all the same. They're always going to give tax breaks for billionaires. They're all, bought out by corporations. I don't care what Elon does with Brad Schimmel. What is Brad Schimmel going to do to affect me? What are the non-Elon related ways that his potential victory and the shifting of this court could affect just regular folks in Wisconsin who aren't necessarily thinking about Elon?
Yeah, so take the Elon factor, the MAGA factor all off the table, and you get the question of whether you think that Wisconsin should enforce a law passed in 1849 before the invention of modern medicine, before the Civil War, that makes abortion a felony punishable by 6 years in jail. Because Brad Schimmel, he likes that law. We just had a debate. He said repeatedly that it's a valid law, that it was passed by the state legislature, was signed by the governor. There's a lot of, there have been other laws since then that normally you'd say those laws supersede the older one. He said this law is valid. He was asked years ago whether he thought that it should be taken off the books. And he said, no, because if Roe versus Wade is overturned, we'll be glad that that law is there. This is someone he actually went after Planned Parenthood when he was the Republican Attorney General of the state in a case called Planned Parenthood versus Brad Schimmel. And he said it was an honor to have his name on the case. The lawyer, by the way, in that case for Planned Parenthood was Susan Crawford, who's the candidate that I'm supporting. So if you think that women shouldn't be able to control their own bodies, you want Brad Schimmel. If you don't think that we should go back to pre-Civil War total abortion bans with no exception for rape or incest or the health of the mother, then Brad Schimmel's your guy. That is one big thing. But there's also like voter suppression cases, union busting cases. Republicans are pretty confident that he would re-gerrymander our state legislature and lock in Republican control if he got the deciding vote. And by the way, this is an election that will determine the majority on the court. Whoever wins casts the deciding vote in 4-3 cases. So pretty much everything that touches Wisconsinites' lives could come through this court, starting with these fundamental questions about healthcare and reproductive freedom. And Brad Schimmel is on the wrong side of all of them.
Now, of course, this election is just right around the corner, and it will be one of the most important, if not the most important election of this year. We are setting the tone right now that we are fighting back against Elon Musk. And so if you want to be a part of that fight, of course, I'm going to be linking ways to do so, a donation link, ways to get involved below this video, the top comment in the description. We're going to be out and fighting. I'm supporting the folks in Wisconsin. I hope you do too. And if you want to support this channel, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around at the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.